Hello everyone, in this video I'll be doing a tier list ranking the best playable races in Oblivion Remastered, as there's some that are just a whole lot better than others when it comes to the abilities that they gain. Now, Oblivion actually handles things a bit differently. In the original Oblivion, if you chose a male or female, it would give you different bonuses depending on that. Now it's based on the origin, so for our first one, we'll be starting off with the Argonian here. The Arnesia one gets a bonus to their overall speed and agility. However, the Thorn March gets a bonus to their intelligence. So you get 50 intelligence with a Thorn March, making them a decent caster. Casting in Oblivion is one of the best ways to play this game. And the Arnesia is good at being stealthier, I guess, because they get increased agility and speed, so they're better if you want to use bow and arrow. Now, the only thing is, their benefits that they get special, like water breathing, it's nice, but you can get an amulet that gives you water breathing really easily at the start of the game, and there's so many ways to get water breathing that's not a huge deal. And you also don't encounter many caves that require you to go underwater that often. It does get immunity to poison, but I can count how many hands, how many fingers, how many times I got poisoned in this game. With a 75% disease resistance as well, not super common. Like, it's better to get an elemental damage type reduction. They do get a +5 to alchemy, a +10 to their athletics, a +5 to blade and hand-to-hand, illusion, mysticism, and a +10 to security. Now, those skills are not really the absolute best. +10 to athletics is a skill that you're going to get leveled up easily anyway. So overall, the Argonian just really, unless you want to play as a dragon or lizard folk, there's no real reason to choose this. It's entirely on your personal preference. So I'd have to say that they're probably the lowest tier. Argonian's just not that great. Counterpoint, S tier if you like dragons and lizards, but overall, they're just not as beneficial as something like the Breton. Now, the Breton is the second one here. Now, the Breton gets two different benefits. They get 50% magicka resistance, so anytime you get a spellcaster, you take 50% of the damage, which is crazy in and of itself. And they also get a +50 to their maximum magicka. They also get the special dragon shield ability, so it has a ton of benefits to it. That 50% magicka resistance makes it one of the best in the game for pretty much any type of, if you want to be a warrior, magic resistance is huge. You're +50 magicka, who cares? If you're a spellcaster, you take less magic damage and you get a +50 to your magicka. So it's very good for really anyone in this game. They also start, if you start with the Sistries or the High Rock, both of these will get 50 intelligence and willpower. And then the High Rock gets a little bit more speed, and the Sistries is more of a strength focus. So not a huge difference between the two of these, just depends if you want to have more speed or more strength. Overall, though, that 50% resistance and 50% plus magicka is absolutely broken. It makes this the best race in the game, I would say, by a good margin, just because being able to resist damage is so useful. So yeah, with that, the Breton easily S tier. This is one of the best races, probably the absolute best race in the game. Now, I also really like the Dark Elf, which is next on our list, the Dunmer, if you played the original. So with the Dark Elf, their biggest benefit is they take 75% less fire damage. The most common elemental damage type in Oblivion, because I mean, if you go in Oblivion Gate, you see fire everywhere. So one of the most common damage types, you resist 75, you only take 25% of the damage, which is massive. On top of that, they also get a Ancestral Guardian Ghost. So this is a summon that's really useful throughout the entire game, but especially early on in the game, having that ghost can mean that you're going to be taking less damage. And most enemies at the start of the game can't even hurt it. So this has a very strong start to the game. And on top of this, I guess I should mention the Breton gets bonuses to Alteration, Alchemy, Conjuration, Illusion, Mysticism, and Restoration, which is all magic. But the Dark Elf here gets a bonus to Athletics, Blade, Blunt, Destruction, Light Armor, Marksman, and Mysticism. It gets a +10 to Destruction, +10 to Blade. So if you want to play a Spell Blade, the Dark Elf is a very solid choice. Now, what makes them really powerful is that the resistance to fire damage, getting a 75% damage reduction is huge. But then Ancestral Ghost is also quite massive, getting that early game damage boost. Really, really effective. And the ghost can tank for you. It doesn't get hit by a lot of people because they won't be able to hurt it. So this is another, I would say, S tier to high A tier pick. That 75% fire resistance is just really nice, but they also benefit if you want to play a spell blade. Dark Elf's a good choice for that bonus to the blade skill and also the bonus to destruction. Next, we got the High Elf. They're pretty good. They used to have the fastest movement speed because they used to be the tallest race. However, that doesn't really apply in Oblivion Remastered. The big downside is they take 25% more fire, frost, and shock damage. However, on that, they also get a +100 to their magicka. So if you want to go a full spellcaster, the Atronak with the High Elf can give you the highest amount of overall magicka. So they're very good in that regard. They just take more elemental damage types. They also get a 75% disease resistance, but as I mentioned, that's not really that good as you'd imagine it to be. But they get 100 plus magicka, which is the biggest benefit. Now, if you go with either of these, they both, the Argonian and the Somerset Isle, they both have 50 intelligence. The difference being the Somerset Isle gets an increase to their overall speed, whereas the Argonian gets a bonus to their endurance. So depending if you want to have more health or more movement speed, but they also get a bonus +5 to alchemy, +10 to alteration, +10 to destruction, and then +5 to conjuration, illusion, and then a +10 to mysticism. So they're very good spellcasters. The only thing you got to be mindful of is they take more magic damage. On the inverse, the Breton takes less magical damage, but they only get +50 magicka, whereas the high elf gets +100. So if you really care about magicka, they're a pretty solid choice. I'd say they're probably somewhere around A tier, just because that +100 magicka is the highest you can get from a race. So that in itself is really good. You just gotta be mindful you do take more damage. So that's something that's really unfortunate, but it could be somewhere around B or A tier, somewhere around there. And next we got ourselves the Imperial, which kind of stinks if I'm being honest. So the Imperial, they're native to Oblivion, Cyrodiil, so they fit well in this game. However, their bonuses are not that great. They get the Star of the West, and they also get a ability to do persuasion on a target. But the persuasion minigame isn't that very... the persuasion minigame is really easy to do, so it's not like it's a massive change. Now, the Imperial, the difference is if you choose the Calovia here, you get a bonus to your overall willpower. And if you go with the Nibene, they get a bonus to their speed, so they get a 40, and then the Calovia gets a 40 to their willpower. So better spellcaster Calovia. Overall, they're just not that beneficial. They get a +5 bonus at blade, blunt, and hand-to-hand. So three damage types you get a +5 bonus to. You're only going to use one at a time, so that's kind of a waste. They also get a +5 to heavy armor, +10 to mercantile, and +10 to speechcraft. So those skills benefits not that good. Overall, unfortunately, their Imperial is just another not great race. Unfortunately, even though they're native to Cyrodiil, it's just not that good. Now the Khajit. Aha, they're pretty cool. So the Khajit, they get the ability to see in dark. They get the Eye of Fear as well. So those are nice because you can demoralize a target, or you can be able to get to see in dark, which is nice. They do get a nice bonus too. Like if you go with the Nequina one here, you get a bonus to your strength. And if you go with the Palatine, you get a bonus to your endurance. So it comes 40 on each. They also get 50 agility. So they're some of the fastest in this, or some of the best with bows and light weapons. So great for thieves, unmatched acrobatic skill. And on top of that, they get a +10 to acrobatics, and then +5 to athletics, blade, hand-to-hand, light armor, security, and sneak. So there's some decent skills there to get bonuses to. They're not the absolute best, but they're not terrible, and they got cool looking appearances. There's also a mod that can remove the beard if you didn't want the beard, so that in itself is pretty cool. The Khajit is probably somewhere around B tier. They're not too bad. Next, we got ourselves the Nord. So the Nord is cool because they get a 50% frost resistance. However, frost is the least common encounter damage type in this game. Conversely, frost or fire you see often, and a 75% resistance is better than 50% resistance, but hey, it's something. Now, what makes the Nord so interesting is they get a frost touch ability, greater power. You can use it once per day. It does 50 frost damage on a target on touch. Pretty nice. And then they also get the ability to give yourselves a shield 30% for a whole minute. So pretty nice. They're strong and hardy. Depending on which race you choose or sub race you choose, the Eastern gets the bonus to their willpower, and then the Western gets a bonus to their endurance, putting up to 50. So it's going to be some pretty high endurance. The Nord's not bad overall. The shield's good. The frost touch is good. The frost resistance is also good. They also get bonuses to a +10 to blade and blunt and heavy armor, and then a +5 to the armor, block, and a +5 to restoration. So they make great warriors. Again, if you're going to go with that archetype, they're pretty decent, but I would have to say probably overall, I'd put them around B tier, somewhere around there, top of the B tier to potential A tier. As someone that likes, loves Skyrim, I just wish they were a little better. That 50% frost resistance is pretty solid, though. I'll probably put it up there. But next we got ourselves the Orc, and the Orcs are actually really good. So the Orcs get the Berserker Rage here. It's a special ability which gives them +200 fatigue for a minute, +20 health for a minute, +50 strength for a minute, and drains agility by 100 points. So they become very strong in brute attacks. They also get a 25% magic resistance. It's not as strong as the Breton, but it's still pretty good. They're great warriors. They have the highest endurance in the game. So the Arsenium gives a bonus to their intelligence, and the Stronghold gives a slight bonus to their personality, and a bonus to their willpower too. So they're decent all across the board. I think the orcs are actually really good. It gets a +10 to armor, block, blunt, and then a +5 to hand-to-hand heavy armor and mercantile. So the orc's nice. 25% magic resistance, the berserker rage. If you really want to play an orc, you're making a good choice. They're actually quite strong. So with that, I'd have to say they're probably put them somewhere there. I might move the Nord down to there. So the orc, the A tier, they're great. Next, we got the Redguard. So the Redguard comes with some cool abilities. They got natural resistance to disease and poison, so that gives them 75% resistance. Again, not a huge deal because you never get poison and disease in this game. It's not very common. But they get a bonus. So if you go with the Dragon Tail Mountain, you get a bonus to your strength, put in at 50. And then the desert ones get a bonus to personality. Now, where they get their biggest benefit is the adrenaline rush that they get. Similar to the Berserker, this gives them a Fortify Strength, 50 points, Fortify Agility, 50 points, Fortify Speed, 50 points, Fortify Endurance, 50 points, and Fortify Health, 25 points for a whole minute. So that's really good. I actually think it's kind of beneficial. They also get 50 Endurance, making them pretty tanky overall. However, they just kind of miss out on what some of the others get for benefits. So I'd probably say they're probably around B tier. They're not bad, but they're not as standout as like the Breton, Dunmer, Altmer, etc. So I'll set them somewhere around in the B tier. And finally, we got ourselves the Wood Elf. This is what I played most recently because they actually made them a little bit better. The Grotwood gets a bonus to their overall endurance, and the Reaper's Merch gets a benefit to the personality. So you can pick which one of those you prefer. They get a 75% disease resistance, which is not good, really, to be honest. And they also get the Beast Tongue, which lets you command a creature up to level 20 to fight alongside you for a minute untouched, which is actually really good because you can use that, especially if you're on master difficulty. Being able to command a creature, they don't get the damage scaling that you have, so they can still hit really hard. They get a +10 bonus to Marksman, Sneak, and Alchemy, and then a +5 bonus to Acrobatics, Alteration, and Light Armor. They are the best stealth archers in the game, especially early on in the game. I still prefer a Breton over them, but I want to try them out because I've always ran Breton, and hey, they're pretty no finer archers. They put that right. The bonus to the marksmanship and the bonus to their overall sneak and alchemy means you can do quite a bit of damage with them. So yeah, being able to command a simple creature makes it pretty decent. But I'll be honest, as much as I like to play with them, they're probably somewhere around C tier. They're just not as good. So yeah, that's where I'd set the, I guess, the best races in Oblivion Remastered. Breton and Dunmer, top of the list. Orc and Altmer could also make it. They could also potentially be S tier. Nord, Redguard, Khajit, pretty solid choice overall. Bosmer, Argonian, Imperial, some of the worst choices, unfortunately. So yeah, just want to make a tier list based purely on the stats and the numbers that they give, not so much anything else. So while the orc might not be the prettiest, it does have some nice benefits to it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.